Everything I imagined has nothing to do with what I see. Everything is more beautiful, much more beautiful. Because human imagination cannot fathom infinite beauty. And those who read my report will see a fantasy Bosporus which has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the real thing.
Bon voyage.
Nagelmackers has invested all his assets in the cars. To Edmond Abou, a journalist and writer invited along for the journey, the idea of this train is plain crazy.
Bienvenue, Monsieur Abou. Welcome to the Orient Express.
Good evening. Which compartment?
Number 3, Monsieur. Good evening. Welcome aboard.
Several bank directors are coming along too. They fear for the money they've lent Nagelmackers for his project.
Your Excellency.
The Ottoman ambassador is also present. Yet the most important passenger is still missing. It's the Times French correspondent Henri-Stéphane de Blowitz. His article will be decisive for the success of the company.
Attendez! Wait for me! Monsieur!
Ah, Monsieur Blowitz. It's an honor. The Times is sending their best man.
You got that right. I thought you'd pinch. Just like last time, 3 months ago.
Come, please.
Thank you.
Crossing borders in sleeping cars is a first, and there is the ever-present danger of being mugged.
No need for that, Monsieur. But have you... Ah. And you?
It's even loaded. And I know how to use it, too.
I hope you shoot better than you write.
As you can see, my dear Abu, I'm still alive.
So guns seem more important than tickets. The route from Vienna onwards is considered particularly dangerous. Historian Roman Gruger retraces Nagelmackers' steps among more than 240 kilometers of shelves full of records in this huge repository of the Austrian state. The way Nagelmackers negotiated his contracts has remained the basis of negotiations between railway administrations in international transport, even today.
The great thing about the contracts we found is this list of railway companies that he brought together under one roof to run his trains. First his wagons, then his trains. What intrigues me most about the contract on the Orient Express is how everything is laid down. The maximum weight of the train on each section, the appearance of the cars, the details of the menu. All this was precisely worked out. Nagelmackers' enterprise was strategically planned from departure to arrival.
Having built the first sleeping cars, the visionary has yet another idea. Although there were makeshift provisions on board, things were to become more professional. Nagelmackers has a kitchen installed, plus rooms for smokers and non-smokers. It's the first proper dining car in Europe. For the 1883 inaugural trip, he develops his rolling restaurant even further.
The logistics in the kitchen were of course highly complex because the space was so limited. All personnel had to know exactly what they were doing and how to coordinate their speed. In principle, it was like the tango.
Heat is provided by wood and coal.
The three-burner stove was called le piano, the piano. And on this piano, the chef celebrated the meals. Nagelmackers always tried to have the best cooks, only the best were allowed to work there. The same applied to the service personnel. Polished, friendly, polite, perfect. That was the Nagelmackers touch.
Fresh vegetables, wines from Bordeaux, fresh fruit. Nagelmackers has the menus adapted to the countries of transit. Fresh ingredients are taken on board at every station.
Merci.
Merci.
These meals were so excellent that often guests would reserve a table just to dine, and then leave the train again at the next suitable station.
To your health, Monsieur Abou.
The maiden voyage is for invited guests only. The Times reporter, Henri de Blowitz, writes about the cook.
None of us had seen him before. His apron shows the traces of that glorious battle he's been fighting for the last 24 hours and won triumphantly.
His colleague Abou is amazed about the quality of the arrangements for the night.
As soon as you go to bed, a discreet ghostly hand in the compartment extinguishes the light until you are enveloped in darkness and gently rocked to sleep.
In 1872, Nagelmackers invests his last money in even more comfortable sleeping cars. He places a huge order with an Austrian company of wagon makers in Vienna. The factory hall where Nagelmackers' cars were built still exists, and they still manufacture axles and bogies in here.
The standards for sleeping cars were redefined at that time, and much of this is due to Nagelmackers. With the classic suspension on two-axle cars, each axle was directly connected to the bodywork of the car. So any unevenness on the rails was directly transmitted to the body of the car.
The precise interaction of wheels and axles is a main prerequisite for quiet running and comfort. However, in 1883, there are even more attractions concerning the comfort of passengers.
The only disadvantage of Nagelmackers' toilet is, in there, you feel as happy as a pig in a blanket. You just stay so long that the other passengers can barely control their need. And after each visit, a servant comes in and cleans up.
The deposits, however, drop down onto the rails. On the third day of the maiden voyage, Henri de Blowitz notes,
After Budapest, everything changes. The way people dress, the appearance of the cities, the proportions of the landscape. The gates of the Orient are opening before our eyes.
Budapest, the Hungarian capital, is a railway hub. This is where they repair cars and change locomotives. And Budapest is still home to an extraordinary collection of historical vehicles. Among them, this steam engine. For Orient Express connoisseur Peter Flug, it holds a special attraction. The 220194 was a technical masterpiece, able to pull the heavy cars of the Orient Express. In the huge engine shed, Peter Flug searches for historical evidence. For many years, the former banker took time out to drive as part-time sleeping car conductor on the Orient Express.
A sleeping car conductor back then was a jack of all trades. host, diplomat, stoker, room service, bodyguard, manager of a small hotel with all the trimmings.
For decades, Flug has been researching the story of Nagelmackers and his sleeping car company. He's considered an authority on everything connected with the train. He knows that there is a unique treasure in the museum, the last railworthy carriage from the early years of the Orient Express. The car is emblazoned with the coat of arms of Nagelmackers' company, inspired by the lions of the Belgian crown and in honor of the king.
These teak wagons radiate an atmosphere that is indescribable. If you look at this car, you're immersed in a bygone world.
I was at the Congress of Berlin. I have interviewed almost all eminent European politicians. Otto von Bismarck, the kings of Spain and Romania, even the Pope. But Nagelmackers is a mystery to me. How does he manage to inspire enthusiasm for his train among politicians from so many different nations, all of whom are full of fear and of mutual distrust? How does he convince all these different railway administrations, or manage to overcome all the borders?
Countless times, the Orient Express will be held up. Bandits derail the train and take hostages. There are robberies and thefts. The fear of attack is already present on the maiden voyage. Abu notes,
Suddenly, to our surprise, the small gypsy band played like the blazes.
of course it's Nagelmackers himself who has hired the men. The musical hold-up is a feint. The inaugural trip is supposed to become an unforgettable experience, with special thrills for his passengers, a well-staged drama for the newspapers.
Of course, this is exactly in keeping with the spirit of the times. Nagelmackers tries to put together a well-rounded concept.
The journey is intended to be a PR coup, which will resonate as a memorable event among the opinion makers. And indeed, Times correspondent Blowitz notes about his fellow journalist,
I have never seen my colleague Abu so pleased.
But in the spring of 1883, Nagelmackers comes under enormous pressure. He's working on his dream project, the train Express d'Orient. Everywhere, there are posters advertising the event. But a decisive element is still missing. Nagelmackers had ordered new 4-axle cars that have not yet been completed. Nervously, he waits for the message on which everything depends. A disaster. Nagelmackers realizes, with old 3-axle cars, he doesn't stand a chance. The whole project would misfire. Vienna. In the Technical Museum stands the only originally preserved 3-axle car from that era. And it makes clear why Nagelmackers insisted on a 4-axle vehicle, a grey Imperial Royal sleeping car. Empress Elizabeth of Austria used it from 1873 onwards. A comfortable sofa, carpets, fine fabrics. Gas lighting and heating turned the car into a hotel on rails. However, the Empress has complaints when she takes her sleeping car for a summer vacation.
Empress Elizabeth travelled a lot and used this car quite often. And sometimes she was anything but satisfied. Mostly because there was this constant squeaking and jerking. But that is a common feature of the 2- or 3-axle car and the suspension with leaf springs.
On a bend, 2-axle cars will jerk about, while 4-axle cars will glide and adapt to the radius. Today, almost all trains are equipped with 4 axles and bogies, as Georges Nagelmackers envisioned it.
The bogies brought a definite improvement, simply because, as you can see for yourself, if there is a bump at this position of the axle, its force will be distributed through the length of the bogie and thus be dampened at the support of the car to almost half the effect. So the bogies opened up the possibility of driving at higher speeds because they increased smoothness and stability while the car was running.
All of a sudden, just before reaching Bucharest, the Orient Express has to stop. A bearing has overheated. It's impossible to go on.
Hey, you! Hey, what's the problem?
Nagelmackers is unable to communicate with the Bulgarian driver. It will be understandable if the passengers were upset. Yet the resourceful Nagelmackers has the situation in hand.
Excursion, very special.
Thanks to his excellent contacts with the Romanian King Carol, he's able to arrange a trip to a nearby castle.
I have never seen a castle like this before. Wood, marble, glass, interwoven and intertwined. Fabulous, ingenious, imaginative. In between, towers that scratch the sky like swords.
The king is an avid reformer, and the railway is a favourite of his. So he's massively expanding the network. King Carol, by the way, is not the only royal who dearly loves a railway. Once, near Bucharest, a group of horsemen appears unexpectedly next to the train. At first, Nagelmackers suspects a robbery, as it happens quite often in the area. The real reason for the sudden stop is a surprise, even for Nagelmackers, who regularly travels along. But then, he recognizes the man. It's none other than King Ferdinand of Bulgaria.
Your Majesty, only 40 kilometers per hour are permitted. Please. The bends are much too tight. That's dangerous.
Even if he has no license, the king thinks himself a born driver.
Your Majesty, please. Your Majesty, the other way. Slow down. Now. Your Majesty. Throttle back. Your Majesty, we have some French champagne in the dining car chosen by me personally. May I invite you for a glass?
A train that attracts kings and brings the peoples of Europe closer together is probably the most important achievement of Nagelmackers. When he notices that in the deepest east of Europe, some of the French passengers feel a bit homesick, his cook provides a remedy. Singing the Marseillaise creates a feeling of togetherness and French spirit. By simple means like this, Nagelmackers succeeds in making his passengers feel comfortable.
His overall concept was each passenger should feel at home from the moment he boarded the train until the end of the journey.
In the following years, Nagelmackers builds further luxury hotels at attractive destinations in Lisbon, Monte Carlo, Cairo, and other metropolises. Theodor Herzl, the founder of political Zionism, uses the train countless times for his shuttle diplomacy heading for Palestine, where he'll meet with the German Kaiser, or to negotiate with the emissaries of the Ottoman Empire, of which Palestine is a part. Herzl fights for the realization of a Jewish state. During the next decades, the train often has to change its route. It's an indication of the respective overall political climate and the goodwill of politicians. In 1919, the Simplon Orient Express rolls for the first time. It runs via Basel through the Simplon Tunnel. In the Treaty of Versailles, the victorious powers of World War I had decided that the vanquished states were to be barred from the route. A year earlier, a car of the company had been the stage of an historical event. Although wagon number 2419D never served with the Orient Express proper, it was part of its carpool. In a clearing near the town of Compagnie in the north of France, in November 1918, the armistice between the German Empire and the Entente is signed in this very car. Travel educates. Even Times correspondent Henri de Blowitz has come to accept that.
Everything I imagined has nothing to do with what I see. Everything is more beautiful, much more beautiful. Because human imagination cannot fathom infinite beauty. And those who read my report will see a fantasy Bosporus which has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the real thing.